Welcome to Quarantine Cooking at Home with me. In this video, I'm going to make some no knead sandwich bread. Yes, no knead sandwich bread. So if you want to check out that process, keep watching. If we're just meeting, I'm Denise Jordan, and I teach traditional homemaking to today's woman. So if you want to learn more about the art and science of homemaking, subscribe and double tap that little bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Well, today I am baking bread. I have not attempted to bake bread in forever, but right now, we're out of bread. And since we are under quarantine, everyone is supposed to be at home together. I thought instead of trying to run out to the store or send the hubby out to the store, I would try to make some bread. And my friend Mary at Mary's Nest has a beautiful channel, and she has shown how to make several different kinds of bread. But this particular one is a no knead bread. Now you do need to have some yeast, but you don't have to knead it. So I thought I can do that, so let's get it started. First of all, you need 6 cups of flour. And after I put the 6 cups of flour in this bowl, I realized this bowl is not going to work because it needs to double in size. So I'm going to have to transfer this flour into another bowl. I'm also going to need 3 cups of water. Warm water, not hot, because we don't want to kill the yeast, so warm water. I'm going to need 1/4 stick of butter, some yeast, 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast, active dry yeast, some sea salt, 1 tablespoon of finely ground sea salt, and I always use Morton salt. Is there any other kind, like when it rains it pours? And then 1 tablespoon of sugar. And that's it. That's all we're supposed to need to bake this bread. So we'll see how things work out. So the butter needs to be melted. So the first thing I'm going to do is put this 1/4 stick of butter into a little dish and pop that in the microwave so that it can melt. And I always like to slice mine. And I'm going to go ahead and put my 6 cups of flour in this bigger bowl. So now we're going to add 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast right into our mixture. 1, 2, 1/4, 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then we'll grab our whisk and we'll just kind of whisk that around. And I'm really glad I switched bowls because as I can see right now, this bowl is almost full. So if I had left it in that other bowl, it would have been bubbling over and out. So I'm glad I did switch the bowls. I tell you what though, this very uncertain time we find ourselves living in right now, and people's freezers, fridges, and pantries are not as well stocked as they would have preferred, or maybe you're just running out of a few staples like bread. So it is encouraging us to try new things. I think the hardest part is going to be letting it sit to rise because the prep time is really only about 5 minutes, and then you have to let it rise and double in size and punch it down and all that kind of thing. So we'll see. Well, I think this is mixed up pretty good. So I'm going to make a well in the center. And then I'm going to pour in my 3 cups of water. And now I'm going to also add my butter, my melted butter. And then I'm going to use the handle of the wooden spoon and just start giving it a stir. Just trying to incorporate all the dry goods into the mixture. It's starting to smell like bread. I can smell the yeast. It's a very sticky dough. It's sticking to the sides of the bowl as well as to the handle of the spoon. So I grabbed my spatula to use it to scrape the dough off of the spoon. Then I used the spatula to pull the dough away from the side of the bowl. So now that I've incorporated all of the flour that was moist, I'm just taking my spatula and just scraping down any of the dough that might have gotten up on the sides. I want to get all the little bits here into the bowl. Now Mary makes it look so easy. And I don't know, hers looks like it's a little bit fuller in the bowl than this, but we'll see. So that's what it looks like. It's all ready for me to just set it aside and let it rise. So now I'm going to cover it with some saran wrap. And then I'm going to put a tea towel over that. So I'm going to set it here on the counter for the next hour and 45 minutes. It's supposed to double in size. So while my dough is rising, let me take this opportunity to let you know that this video is part of a collaboration with Kenya at Kenya's Decor Corner and the Sister Circle. We are bringing you the best in quarantine cooking every Wednesday night for the next 4 weeks at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just felt like we're running out of ideas to cook, and we're running out of ideas not only to cook, but how to cook with what we have, because we can't necessarily run out and pick up some new things. So be sure and check out the playlist, or just type in the address bar hashtag quarantine cooking at home with me, and you will see a list of videos from the ladies of the Sister Circle that is showing you what they're cooking in their kitchen. And here's the question of the day. What's going on in your quarantine kitchen? Are you running out of some basic supplies and you're having to improvise? Tell me in the comment section below. Okay, now is the moment of truth. It's been about an hour and 45 minutes, maybe a little longer, that the dough has been rising, so let's take a look at it. It feels heavier, but lighter. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but oh my goodness, look at that. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Now I covered mine with saran wrap and a tea towel. I'm so glad I did. Mary said if you use a towel to sprinkle with a little flour, just in case it the dough rose all the way to the top and got on the flour on the towel. But I'm glad I put the saran wrap over it first, because it did come up to the top of the saran wrap. So I will, and it's sticking to that just a little bit. So let me get that off. smells like bread. It smells all yeasty. Now the other thing Mary said was it should jiggle like Jell-O, and it's doing that. It's jiggling. Woo, woo, woo. I feel like my little Morgan when we were making pancakes the other day. All right, so next thing I need to put my dough into these 2 loaf pans. So I'm going to grease them with this butter. I've got some butter. And Mary said to make sure we grease it very, very well. She said that was really important. So I've got about a tablespoon of butter in here that I'm trying to grease this with. And I'll put the other half of it in here. She said it was really important that you grease the loaf pan well because you want to get a good release of the bread. And I'm hoping my bread has a good crumb on it. Yes, I've learned the new terminology, crumb. That's what it's called when you look at the inside of the bread, the crumb. Now why, I don't know. So if you want to know more about baking bread, no knead bread, sourdough bread, yeast bread, any kind of bread you can think of, my friend Mary at Mary's Nest has probably made it. And she has got a whole series on her channel on bread making. So I will link her below so that you can check her out. She's one of my best friends on YouTube, and I have learned so much from her. We are both traditional homemakers and certainly experienced homemakers. So, all right, so now I've got 2 well-buttered pans. So now I'm going to deflate the dough, and I just do that by pulling it away from the side of the bowl. I'm just pulling it away from the side of the bowl, and it's coming. Looks like pizza dough a little bit to me. And I'm pulling it over onto itself is what Mary said to do. Just kind of pull it over onto itself. So you saw where it was almost at the top. Now I'm deflating it and pulling it over on top of itself to make a ball. So this is a no knead bread, and I guess this is the no knead part. I'm not kneading it, but I am kind of pulling it over on top of itself. And I didn't have to have any fancy machines. I don't have a bread baking machine or anything like that. Now I'm going to butter my hands, and then I'm going to separate the dough in half. I'm just going to get my hands in here and just kind of separate the dough in half because we're making 2 loaves of bread. It feels so warm. You would have think it had been in the oven already. Okay, there you can see I've got it divided in half. Now I'm going to lift out this half. And put it in my loaf pan. Now I'll get out this half. I'm not sure if my halves were quite half. That's the one thing about this quarantine cooking. It forces you to try new things. I'll try to give that a little shake so that it's all the way from one corner of the pan to the other. I think I got a little more in this one than the other, but that's okay. Look at there. Morgan and Mackenzie would love this. Maybe I'll do a bread making session with them. They might like that. What could be more fun than getting your hands all gooey? So now I'm going to let these rise for another 40 to 45 minutes. And again, they're going to double in size. And you could see where they were before, and they should really rise up closer to the top of the pan. So I'm going to sit them over on top of the stove where it's nice and warm again. My husband is going to be so surprised when he comes down for breakfast this morning. Homemade fresh bread. He's going to feel like he's died and gone to heaven. Look, 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 look. My bread is rising. I have to tell you guys, I am totally geeking out over this bread. It has risen beautifully, and it's still got about another 30 minutes to go. But it's doing so well. And I guess I have to say that I always thought bread making would be a lot more difficult than this. I did try it once when I was a lot younger, and for some reason it didn't go very well. So I just never bothered to try it again. But this was easy. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and if it wasn't necessary that I make bread, I wouldn't have tried that this morning. So I guess there is a silver lining in all of this darkness. What are you being forced to learn to cook or make differently right now during these shelter at home, quarantine, lockdown, whatever you want to call it, but during these very stressful times? Tell me in the comment section below. Well, this has really crowned. It's got a little bit of a dome on top. I wasn't really trying to get a dome, but that's what I've got. You can kind of see here from the side. I think it is time for me to pop them in the oven. So I popped them in the oven at 375 for about the next 40 minutes, and I put them on the middle rack. And we'll see what's what. I think they're ready. So here's the bread fresh from the oven. And it feels nice and crisp on top. Mary said you're supposed to hear that little thump like this. And then we're supposed to butter the top of the bread to make the top of it soft. So let's do that while it's nice and hot. Fresh from the oven. Now it looks amazing. Let's hope that it's as it should be. Don't they look beautiful? I just can't believe it. They look gorgeous. I can't wait to cut into them. But first we gotta get them out of the pan and onto a cooling rack. Oh, it just came right out. Oh, just like Mary said. It just literally just popped right out. Oh my goodness. She said butter that pan well, and I did, and it just, this one did too. It just popped right out. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So these look absolutely amazing, and now the tops are a lot softer now as the butter starts to melt into them. And look at the bottoms. Don't the bottoms look beautiful? I was afraid that I was going to have them in the oven too long and they'd burn or something, but can you tell I'm geeking out, that I'm excited? I am so excited. I can't wait for hubby to come down and see. Okay, so now let's try to give this a little bit of a taste. I could not wait to cut it. So I'm going to cut the end off. Oh, it looks beautiful. Look at the crumb. The crumb looks amazing. That's what they call it, the crumb. Don't ask me why, but maybe because it crumbles, but oh my goodness. Now I'm going to cut a slice from the middle and just have it with a little bit of butter. So this is the second slice, and it's nice and light, and I can see that it'll make perfect sandwiches. And it's still warm. It's good. It's really good. My hands are still all buttery. I have to thank my friend Mary at Mary's Nest for teaching me how to make no knead sandwich bread. It was really easy. I mean, it was as easy as it looked. Probably the hardest part was waiting for it to rise the second time. I probably let it rise just a little bit too long, because you can see how far over the edge it rose, and then it kind of went. But other than that, it was easy and it was perfect. I can't wait to try it toasted. So I'm going to call the hubby downstairs and give him his tea and surprise him with the bread. He doesn't know that I was making this. Honey, come down. I've got your tea. And something else. He's going to totally be surprised. In case you're wondering what kind of tea this is, it is the Yogi Blackberry Apple Cider Digestive Awakening.
Wow. She's getting bread for real.
I did, look.
Wow, look at that. Amazing.
Look at there.
Wow.
You can have a taste.
Mmm.
Tastes like real bread, doesn't it?
Yeah, real bread. Wow.
Look at that, I made 2 of those. You know, I often talk about the art and science of homemaking, and part of that art has to do with the intentional use of self to nurture your family, to beautify your home, to create a pleasing environment. And one of the arts that women used to engage in just about every home, was bread making. And it's kind of become one of those lost arts. Now, there's a whole group of women that are making bread today, and there's a whole group of women like moi who made bread today because they didn't have any bread. But I can certainly see the value of learning to be more self-sufficient and being able to make my own bread on at least a weekly basis. So this is not the last time that I am going to bake bread. I'm going to try it again. And maybe the next time I'll try some bread that has to be kneaded. But in the meantime, this worked out beautifully. What I do wonder is if there's some nifty little bread slicing doohickey where you can just pop it over the bread and it slices beautifully and all the slices are the same size. I don't know. I'll have to ask my friend Mary. I'm sure she'll know that. So in the meantime, I'm going to grab me a cup of coffee and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy some homemade bread with jam. And just so you know, I've raised 3 children and I've managed a home for more than 45 years. So if you want to learn more about making and keeping a home, subscribe. I can teach you to be a traditional homemaker in an untraditional world. In the meantime, this is Denise Jordan and Kenya's Decor Corner and the ladies of the Sister Circle saying join us next week at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday night for the best in quarantine cooking. We'll see you then. And you're not done yet. Click on the link in the description box below so you can check out the best in quarantine cooking on YouTube. I thought I'd see how it did in the toaster, so I cut a slice and popped it in there, and I'm just waiting for it to come out. Well, it held up in the toaster just fine. Let's get a little butter on it, and then I'll get some jam on it too. I've got a little Smucker's strawberry jam. So we'll just see how that tastes. It's delicious toasted, and it's delicious with butter and strawberry jam.